Hey Paint Party Headquarters, so this is the sunflower painting. I'm really excited about this one because it doesn't have to have any wording if you don't want it to, and it's a really easy, fun design that can be done pretty quickly. So what I'm doing is I created a tracer out of poster board. So you'll have access to this. You'll have to print it in 4 sheets and then combine it. And then what I would recommend is if you do get some parties with this, and this is something you can use year after year because a sunflower is just always on trend. Sometimes you just have to change the type of background. But basically what I do is when I have a bunch of these at once, I turn it into a poster board tracer. That way it's a little bit easier. So anyway, this way I can just trace it. I just wanted to show y'all how I trace them on here as well, because really I just print out the same thing that I make for y'all, and then I turn it into a poster board. You can get poster board at Walmart or at wherever, Michael's, wherever, or you can order it online. And then see how I just did a couple of little slits in here? When I do those with the X-Acto knife, then I kind of have an area of where I can go in here. So I could do the same thing with slits into here if I want. So now I know this needs to be my circle right here. Seems to be if you turn it, then you can make a little better circle, okay? And then now I need to fill these in. So what I would recommend is if you're nervous about freehanding this, then again, use an X-Acto knife and cut in a few grooves so it gets you to where you need to be. So I'm just gonna look at it real quick and bring these in. So we're just leaving little spaces. It's almost like a little triangle. And remember, these designs are for you to use. This one kind of does a smiley face. And remember, these designs are for you to use as is so that they save you time. However, if you're like, oh yeah, I like the idea, but I want to, you know, spruce it up and make it a little bit different. Guys, this is your business. Remember, you can do things however you want. So the point of Paint Party Headquarters is to, you know, not only encourage you and help you and answer questions as you go, but also to give you these tangible tools like this, a painting that's ready to go, so that you don't have to think. You can just, you know, especially those of y'all that are working full time, you can go, okay, this is what needs to be done this month. I, you know, have the painting design. I can go ahead and offer it and we're good to go, right? That's the whole point of this. So let me make sure that this is recording correctly. Ever get to your party, okay? So now we're gonna paint it. So this is a few, I always tell people, kind of get a big brush, like a 2-inch brush like this. And don't worry too much about having a ton of different brushes. The main ones that you're gonna need is this one, like it's like a 1-inch flat. This is just a liner brush and then a 6 round. Again, as long as you have something similar, when I first started teaching my paint parties, I would literally just grab anything I had in my art studio and go for it, because I did not want to, I didn't have the money to go buy anything. So, you know, some of y'all are out there like, oh, I can't start because I don't have this or the perfect this. Remember guys, you don't have to have easels. Yesterday's party, I didn't even use easels. You don't have to have aprons. You can always send an email that says, you know, right now I don't have any aprons, or just put, you know, you don't have to put that. Just put, please bring clothes that you don't mind getting ruined. Or on Amazon for like some just disposable, I think you can get like 100 for $10. So, and you know, always just build up as you're ready. But once you're ready, once you start having a few parties, I recommend taking some of that and putting it back to buy some, to at least buy 10. So this is just a bright orange. Now, obviously, our whole flower isn't going to be a bright orange, but we just kind of need a base layer. So these are the colors I'm going to start with. I have bright orange. I have a yellow, primary yellow. I have gold metallic. You can tell this has been used and abused. We love that gold metallic. And then I have a dark chocolate. And here is a metallic, should be bronze, no, copper right here. Okay, so those, and black. So those are the colors. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going between orange and yellow. And then I'm just doing different shades between each one. Do you want to know why? I didn't rinse my brush, as you can see. The main reason why is so that we don't lose where these petals are. Okay? So what you want to tell them is just step 1, paint every other petal, just the orange by itself. Step 2, without washing your brush, dip it into yellow and paint it like that. It's just going to blend nicely anyway. We're going to come back to this. So now I'm going straight to orange and filling in. And see, it's getting some of that yellow, so it's already starting the blending process. And sorry about my nails. My daughter took my fingernail polish remover, and I don't know where she put it. And she's asleep right now, so I don't want to wake her. I was like, well, y'all have seen worse, I'm sure. So I was like, I'll just do it whenever she gets up. Okay, so I'm filling that in. I'm going to go back to yellow with a messy brush. And you can see hints of orange. So I just wanted to tell y'all while I'm doing this, the spring bike has been really good. What I would recommend though is if you do the spring bike, do not do it with more than 2 painting choices. Meaning spring bike is one and there's one other. The reason why is because it's to an artist type person or a person who's painted a lot, it's pretty easy. I mean, you look at it, you do a little swoosh. You look at it, you do a little swoosh. But to a beginner who's never painted, those little swooshes and dashes and stuff that go on, they really want handheld the whole way through, which is fine. But I found out the other day it was harder. It was harder because I was having to try to, tell people what to do with the flower and then every single step for the bike. I was thinking, well, it's pretty like self-explanatory, that they just, put a dash here, but it really, I think it's more of like especially for a beginner, they don't understand that sometimes painting is very simple and it's just literally going blah, it's just literally just putting a stroke there. But for the beginner, it's really scary for them. So I found myself, and this was just with a group of 14, but we had 3 painting designs, which, the spring bike was the first time I'd done in a group. But they loved it. Oh my gosh, they loved it so, so much. So, with that being said, the spring bike was definitely a success, but it needs more attention as far as like you saying, hey, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. So a spring bike, if you're thinking about doing that one, I would recommend if you don't have a painter's choice one, just offering that as one. I'm actually doing the painter's choice for that one coming up, and it's only that one and one other. And I almost added a third, and I was like, nope, I've learned my lesson. So make sure you only use that as by itself or with just one other painting. And then I would also make sure that you, at the beginning, say something like, you know, it's a lot of just swooshes, and, you know, make sure you have the picture printed out for them, or a few different examples. I had 2 bike examples, and that seemed to be what they went off more than my printed picture, because they could put it up by them, and it just made them feel more comfortable. I don't know. They just felt way more comfortable looking at the finished canvas. So when you're doing that, just maybe have a couple of designs. And then the flowers that turned out better were definitely when people would just take a round brush and just, I showed them how to do just kind of like a little blob, and then just do another, like a shade of pink in a blob, and then a lighter shade of pink in a blob on top of it. That seemed to work a lot better, and they actually turned out way cuter. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, look at the pictures I just posted recently. And y'all remember, as being a part of Paint Party Headquarters, I know sometimes we're like, oh, I don't know if I want to pay the monthly. You know, for the price you're paying, it's not even one painter. I'm not even talking about one paint party. I'm talking about like one painter overpays for the entire membership. And the reason why, like, you're paying for that is not only to get these designs and stuff like that are already done for you and you don't have to think, but also just remember that as new things come in, I'm always here to tell you, like, hey, this worked, this didn't work, you know, don't do this, do this. And remember, you have access to my pictures. So like all those pictures I just did of the bike, the spring bike, and the flowers, like, you can, as long as you're apart. I mean, again, I ask that you be respectful if you do decide to cancel, but as long as you're apart, you are welcome to go into my Texas Art and Soul, or the pictures, or of course, the marketing packs, the social media hacks, where I have all of those pictures, and you're welcome to grab them and then use them as, you know, you don't have to say, hey, I did this party. I didn't rinse my brush, guys. I just dipped into the brown. You're welcome to say, you know, hey, what do you think about doing this? Or, you know, doing a party, spring bike coming up. And then you have all these pictures you can put on your Facebook event page. You can post, you know, just as long as you're obviously honest. You don't have to say, my friend did this party, but you can say, you know, check out, you know, how pretty these colors are. I can't wait for our party on this date. And then also just making sure that your personal and your business. Now, on my personal, it's a lot more of, you know, but I do both. So you'll notice on my personal, on my Instagram, on my business Facebook, is pretty much the same post after a party. I'll say, and I'm just doing a circular motion like this, just kind of blending those colors together. I'll say, thank you so much for coming. It was a blast. If there was anything that stood out, I might type that in there. And then I do that on my personal page. I do that on my business page. I do that on my Instagram. And guys, if you're wondering like why I do it on my personal, well, if you were to go look at Heidi Easley right now, you would immediately know that I am about paint parties. Like immediately. Like if you scroll through for more than 5 seconds, you're going to see, oh, this girl does paint parties. I mean, it's just obvious. So a lot of y'all, you know, I'm going to do another social media type thing, you know, where I look at y'all's social medias. So maybe this is your chance to start getting it together before I do a peek. A lot of y'all, I go through and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, so if you were to message a restaurant, that restaurant, you know, may take 5 seconds to look at your profile. And seriously, if all they see is, you know, cat memes, they're not going to take you as an expert of you could actually teach a paint party. So it's a fine line, because you can't really sell on your personal, but you can post pictures of paint parties all day long. So, and you have to remember, my mother-in-law, she's the worst at this. She does not understand social media. And she's like, but Heidi, when you post that much, I mean, aren't you annoying people? Like, isn't that annoying to people? And I'm like, first off, 1 out of 10 of your friends are seeing your post, unless it is interesting. You know those posts where people say, happy anniversary to my love, blah, 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 and they have like 200 likes. You know why that is? Number one, they're usually, I'm going to go in with yellow, guys, and just start to blend this out. The reason we didn't do all of this at the same time is because if we would have, this just would have all meshed into one color. So it has to have different streaks, okay? But we do want our sunflower more yellow. So the reason somebody who might have like a happy anniversary and they have like a picture of when they were younger, the reason that gets so many, which means they're liking it, they're commenting on it, and then that tells Facebook's little algorithm that, wait, this is interesting, let me show it to more people. That is why those posts go further, okay? If you have a post that just is posting a flyer that says, you know, come to my paint party, and that's on your personal one, you're basically, because you're asking for money, you're asking for a commitment, those aren't going to go very far. However, you can still show people that you're teaching paint parties without teaching paint parties. So the other day I was in Michael's and all I did was I had my hand like this with these new glitters and I just posted like, have y'all tried these yet? I asked a question. That was it. These are brand new. I can't wait to try them. I'm so excited. And I just asked, have y'all tried these yet? And it got tons of comments because I was asking a question, but still guys, letting people know and remember, I'm the girl they go to when they need a paint party. You know, that's why lately, and like I told y'all, there's a tipping point. So you can't just start this business and in 5 seconds say, I don't know why I can't get any parties booked. Well, you have to kind of go out there and get them at first. But then there becomes a tipping point. When you're consistent, again, you know, pretty much for 10 years, I've been doing paint parties on and off, but consistently for the past 7 years, consistently. Full time, I'd say at least the past 5 years, maybe even a little bit more, because those last 2 years of teaching full time, I was pretty much doing this full time. So the reason I say that is I never, ever, ever, I might paint, you know, of course, post pictures of my family on Facebook because that's what it's for, but I never worry about, am I blasting this too much? And remember, marketing 101, they got to see it. They got to see it again. 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 And then they got to see it again until it's about 7 times before it even registers in their head. Oh, wait, Heidi's that girl that does paint parties. Oh, wait, Rebecca's that girl that does paint parties. Oh, wait, Linda. Oh, wait, Beth does paint parties. You know, whatever the case may be. And then it starts to sink in. So whenever you post an event, they know you're serious about it. They know that, wait a minute, she really does this thing. So you have to remember, guys, I know some of y'all, it's so funny. I was talking to somebody the other day and she was like, and I'm not going to name any names, but she was like, I think I've quit paint parties like a bazillion times. Like I started, then I quit them, then I started, then I quit them. Because it can be so frustrating, y'all, when you do, you know, all this effort, set up a party, and then something with the marketing is wrong and nobody signs up. I mean, that is the worst feeling, right? It sucks. It's not fun. Nobody likes that. So what I can say to that is, you know, I still have parties sometimes that I have to cancel, and that's okay. That's part of the process. I'm going to go in with some copper. And all I did, guys, was I took my big brush. I never washed it once. And I just kind of, and again, with the brown, make sure they dab it off first before they start going in, and just kind of, you know, bring in those colors in. The reason you want to do this is because you don't want your flower to be boring, but you don't want too much brown, but you also want to be able to see the differences between the petals. So like you can see some of those oranges that were coming out. You can see all of that. So now I'm going to go in with copper and we're actually going to add some golds too. But we were talking about how even myself, before I finally said, okay, God, this is what you want me to do. I'm going to go full force. Even myself, I would find myself going, oh my gosh, I just need to find a regular teaching job. This is too hard. So what I tell the people that are doing this full time, you have to just, when you see your calendar bare, that's when you start, you have to be disciplined. When you see your calendar bare, that is when you go into action mode and you spend, remember I talked to y'all about that. I'm going to actually do the gold first. So I'm just dabbing off most of my brush. I'm not rinsing it, but then I'm going to use a little bit of the gold and just highlight here and there just for fun. So I'm going to talk to both sides here. The people who have parties and the people who are struggling to get parties. I'm going to talk to both of y'all. So the ones that are really struggling to get parties and you look at your calendar and it's bare, this is where your discipline comes in. If you need to get up early in the morning, I would not recommend sending messages early in the morning just because that's rude. I wouldn't send any messages before, I'd say 9 a.m. Just because people are like trying to get their coffee and of course they're going to say no. They're going to be like, stop bothering me. This is way too early. But what I would do is I would go to, the public library or even Starbucks or wherever. And I would dedicate at least an hour a day, 4 days a week. And I would start messaging restaurants. I would start messaging churches. I would start messaging or calling country clubs. Remember, I taught y'all how to call and what to say so that you're just asking for an email. All of those things, guys. That's what I do. Anytime I do not have a full calendar, that's what I do. I stop everything. I stop the paintings. I stop everything. And I find a place. Usually it's this little cafe at the square, and I bring my laptop and I spend at least an hour, sometimes 2 hours, but at least an hour a day. And you might say, well, I work full time and I can't do that right now. Well, maybe you're just in the stage where you're just doing one party a month. Sorry, drinking my coffee. If you're in the stage where you're working full time and you're just doing this on the side for extra vacation money, then there's not as much pressure. However, you might want to dedicate sending out to 5 country clubs a day, in your area. I know some of y'all might be in an area where you think this is just the copper. Some of y'all might be in an area where you think, and I'm just dotting it. This is just really fun. People can go crazy and dot a ton, or they can dot a little, or however much you want. I know some people on the survey talked about, well, you're only talking about big cities. Some of my biggest parties have been in towns of 5,000. So guys, it works everywhere. But what I do want to say is if you're in a small town, then you have to be within an hour of 100 restaurants. I mean, unless you're literally living out where there is no place to drive to for hundreds of miles. And in that case, you are going to be a little limited. But I have always said, I don't want to be a sitting duck in a studio hoping somebody will pull up and I have to be there teaching, here and there. Those of you, if you do have a studio, start doing after school classes. One of my friends who owns Pizzazz Studios, she has tons of kids every day after school. I think they actually have them on a membership where they pay so much a month and they come every day after school. I would have to find out for sure, but that's if you have a location. For us that are doing mobile, the reason I love mobile and the reason I just really talk not badly against buildings and studios, because I mean, obviously if you can do that, that's amazing. I'm going to use black now, and I'm just kind of going just roughly along the edges. Let me try with my brush, see if it'll be faster, because I know with y'all's paint party people, sometimes they'll go really slow on these kinds of parts. Yeah, do with the 6 round brush. And you're just kind of making it messy. So you're just kind of dabbing. Yeah, so the reason I preach going mobile is because you're never a sitting duck. So let's say this event that I've been doing since last September. Every month I've been going to the same restaurant. What if that place closes? Or what if it starts to dwindle, and there's not as many people? I mean, things always have a cycle. Everything in life has a cycle, right? So what if all of a sudden, I can't get customers there, or maybe they want a new venue. They're kind of sick of coming every month to the same place. We have to be flexible. And I think that's where having a mobile paint business is really, really helpful. So you have to know, like, okay, is this working? Is it not working? How can I change this? What do I need to do to make this better? And while this is drying, we're going to go ahead and paint the background. This is where your people can get really creative. I'm just going to go with a straight black background. But again, if you want to do a blue, if you want to do any color you want, you can. Obviously, I will tell my customers they can do any color they want. But for this sake, I'm just going to do black because I think it's going to stand out really good against the sunflower. So with that being said, I just want y'all to know that the reason, people say, oh, well, I have a painting with a twist, or I have this happening already in my town, or there's too much competition. Those are some of my favorite words. I mean, that means we're totally relevant. The Christmas stuff coming this year, oh my gosh. We're actually, one of our paint party headquarters is going to be doing a surprise bonus that I've talked to her about, that I think between what she is offering and the vintage Santa that's coming, I think our Christmas in July / from September through December is going to be so much fun for all of us. And not only because they're really great, like you saw last year, you only need a couple of designs to make a really great season. And when I say great season, guys, it is possible. I have done it many, many years over, but it is possible to make an entire year's salary in just a few months with the right paintings. So the vintage Santa, of course, is going to be really popular, just like the truck and tree. You may still be able to do the truck and tree. And for those of y'all that are new to Paint Party Headquarters, the truck and tree was like a gold mine. Anybody who's scheduled with that reaped the benefits. And, and it paid, I'm sure that paid for your Paint Party Headquarters many years in advance. Even if you just did one party, it paid for way over a year of Paint Party Headquarters. So what I'm saying with that is just the vintage Santa and this other surprise that one of our Paint Party Headquarters is going to share with us, which I am immediately going to be using in my business because it's so good. I'm telling y'all have so much information and so much talent. She booked 26 parties, in which you will be hearing that interview soon. She booked 26 parties in 30 days last year. Just in 30 days. I think she did 70 something parties just last year. So, and she works a full-time job. which is crazy to me. That is a lot of parties for a full-time job. So anyway, what I'm saying is we are limited by what we tell ourselves. So those of you that are telling yourself, my town is too small, I have a painting with a twist, can you drive? Can you drive 45 minutes? I mean, I just drove the other day for an hour and a half to go to a location. I made $675 for that one location. I charged $45 a person, 14 people. If I'm doing my math right, that's $675. And to me, the expenses were minimal. The gas was minimal since I got a new vehicle. Really, guys, I used to work all day teaching several, 150 kids a day, 850 a week, and I would make $220. So when I'm like, okay, I can, do what I want all day, and I'm not saying here, let me repeat that. I'm not saying quit your full-time job. I never say that until you know that you can handle the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. However, those of you that are doing this part-time and 1, 2, 3 a month, it is great money, guys. I'm telling you, that's why I always say, even as Paint Party Headquarters grows, I won't stop teaching paint parties because the money's too good. I mean, it's just like huge bonuses here and there. And it's so much fun. I can be so stressed out and so overwhelmed and so anxious about stuff. But the moment I get in a room and start teaching paint parties, I literally stop worrying about myself, my family, everything. And I'm totally 100% focused on these women and how can I help them have a fun night. So it's almost like once I get there, yes, it can be, prep work and stuff like that. But once I get there, I'm in my element. I just feel, so ready to go and excited. So what I'm going to say is those of you that think, oh, well, I have such a small town. Well, whenever you start to try to pick your places, look at the places an hour from you. There has to be restaurants within an hour from you. Look at the places within an hour and a half of you. And another thing too that's kind of funny, I don't like begging my family and friends to come to my paint parties. From the beginning, that was never really, like if they wanted to come or I hired them, but I never wanted to put that pressure on them. I just didn't. I just was that person. I just didn't want to, hey, could you come, whatever. If they wanted to come and they signed up, that was great. Or if they came as a helper and part of their payment was them painting, or I found out that it's better just to have them as a helper and pay them. But what I found was I could go to anybody, anywhere, and send them a message or an email, and it does not hurt my feelings if they never reply back. It doesn't hurt my feelings if they say no. Remember, a no is just no, not right now. Doesn't always mean a no forever. And it never hurt my feelings because I had no emotional attachment to these people. Now, if I was out there all the time, hey, can you come to my party? Hey, and it's my friends and family, of course I'm going to get my feelings hurt. Who wouldn't, So make sure when you're going to reach out and contact people, don't contact people It just makes it way easier. Okay, so we have the black background and then we have the little dots here. Now, you can encourage your people if they want to come in with gold dots too. I've had people, I don't recommend having it as the example, but I've had people actually dot the entire thing. It looks amazing. But the reason I don't do it is because it can take a long time. And again, you're trying to keep these paintings around this is a really good 2-hour painting. It's really simple, easy, to the point. And then the last thing, if you want, you can add, but you don't have to. You could go in with just a little brown and then maybe mix a little orange with it so it's not so brown. And then you can just not really outline it perfect, but just kind of turn your brush sideways, just here and there. And that's it. You just want it to be a simple, fun sunflower. Now, I purposely chose not to do any words on this, but I did want to show you. This is a canvas version that I just did. And then if you want to do a door hanger version, again, this is a very quick, easy door hanger. I'm going to order mine. My husband cut this out from Revolutionary Ply from Lowe's, but I'm actually ordering all my stuff now from Craft Creations. So this design I'll have for them, so you can just say, hey, can you get these nails? They're so bad. Hey, can I use the Texas Art and Soul version? And then that way you get this version exactly. But it's basically the same thing on the petals, as you can see, except I kind of roughed up a little bit with just some kind of brownish paint. And then I did huge strokes of whites and browns. This was filled in with all copper. So you can see I did the copper dots over here, all copper, and then just little hints of brown dots and copper dots. And then we did an initial. This is just a freehand initial in the middle. Burlap, all this is hot glued. I took 3 strips of burlap. I did an X and then one in the middle and then cinched it and tied it. That's about the extent of my bow making. I don't know how to make bows, and I don't know how to do those real fancy bows. One, I'm not learning how, because then it's going to cost me a whole lot more ribbon. However, if people show up and they do know how, I do let them go crazy on my ribbon, as long as they save enough for everybody. And then this is just a simple wire I got at Walmart, and I just get a couple of holes pinched on here, and then I just really put the wire in and just do a quick little twist. That's it. So you have basically 2 versions out of this. You can do the canvas with no words if you're interested in just, having a sunflower canvas. Any color background will work. Then same technique on this, and this painting is only 2 hours. So if you're looking for a quick spring painting, this would be the one. And these actually could happen even a little faster. So anyway, you got a 2-for-1 here. So I hope you like it. Remember, download the tracer so you don't have to freehand it unless you're decent at freehanding, then just make your own tracer. So download the tracer. Also the supply list, I'll have that. This is just really simple, guys. Just the yellow, the gold, the orange, almost dropped it, the black, and the copper. I use no white. However, you could use white if you wanted to put a few little white highlights like I did in here. So it's totally up to you. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this painting. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you do a mock-up design of it, remember, post in the group. We'd love to see it, but you don't have to. You can literally take the picture I'm going to give you of this and send it as one of your examples for spring paintings. Then when they book, because they will, when they book, then you can go ahead and paint it. Now, if you are brand new to painting, I do recommend you paint it first before you say that you can actually teach it at a paint party. But if you are not a brand new painter and you look at this and you're like, yep, I got it, no problem, then just use my picture and book your parties. And then once you have your parties booked, then go ahead and paint it. And that's what I do anytime I'm like working on something and I know that, like for example, Sue's Brushes and Beyond, she had that flower box. Well, I knew I could do something similar, so I went ahead and booked the parties with the picture she had. Then as soon as I had a party booked, then I painted it myself and then changed out the pictures. So that's just another little hack that makes it faster for you. So I hope this helps. I love having y'all in Paint Party Headquarters so much. And I hope this makes lots of money for your parties. And I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.